Hello guys, it's Ammonia Void here again. Nice to see you. And here I am with my next episode. This time on dangerous situations and how to get out of them. I thought about this topic recently because I was talking to a friend and I'm also planning a next big trip, and I recall all the crazy stories or moments that happened the last time on my trip. So I was mentally preparing myself and I thought, okay, let's do an episode on this. So it's like a mutual brainstorm. And some stories that I'm going to share with you today are related to photography, some are not, or those stories kind of impacted how I approach certain situations within photography. So I hope you're going to find this episode useful and that you find some takeaways from 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 what I'm about to tell you. I will tell them chronologically, and interestingly, all the stories are with men, so there is something to think about as well. And this first story goes way back when I was still a teenager in my early 20s. That's no longer a teenager. I think I was 18, 19, around that time. And I was going to high school, and my job was to teach English to Czech people. And I had this evening class, and I was going back with the last metro, and I went inside, and there was nobody, just one guy. And I sit down, and the guy, once the metro started running, he came very close to me, and I was sitting like this, and he just stood this close to me while there was nobody in the entire wagon. I was like, okay, maybe this is shady. And once the train started going, he started telling me, hey, I have a gun, and I'm about to shoot you. What do you do in this situation? I was so confused, and I look at him, and he had this huge coat, and I thought, no, he doesn't look like a guy who has a gun. And at the same time, I was like, maybe he's an exhibition, which I hope not. I was like, I'd rather the gun than seeing you naked. And I thought about this scenario of not directly communicating with him, so I also looked really confused, and the only thing I thought about was to pretend that I'm deaf, because what else can I think of, so that he knows that I don't understand what he's saying. And I thought, he's trying to scare me, but he's not gonna get it. So when I signal or gesture like what, and he got so confused that he didn't know what to do, and he kept repeating the same stuff. I have gun and I'm gonna shoot you, and it just kept repeating, and I kept repeating my stuff too. And this moment felt super long, even though it was just, I had to figure this out one station, because then I said, okay, I can leave, or some people are gonna enter, and then this moment is gonna stop. And eventually this confusion gave me time, and we arrived to the station, and people went in, and he looked at me, he just left the whole train, and that was it. So that was my first story, how I got out of a strange situation. So number one is to do something very unexpected, very random. I surprised myself, to be honest, because I was like, why did I pretend to be deaf? But it didn't work. And the later story that is coming now is a longer one. It's a tough one, and that happened when I was already living in the Netherlands. And I was going through a difficult situation with apartments, and I was moving out to a place, and I had to find a replacement for myself in my old apartment. And I found a person, but I was staying at a friend's. Complicated situation. Anyways, I asked this new person if I can leave my stuff in the cellar and pick it up later, And this person agreed, and he suggested, oh, Linda, come over for a tea when you're gonna pick up your stuff. We can do a catch up and the key handover and everything. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And I didn't know what I actually signed up for. I thought it was just an innocent tea, but it was quite different. And I just went there and we started chatting. He made this tea, and the whole conversation started to be very strange, because he started saying stuff about aliens and whatever, man, you do you, but he was very, very intense about it, showing me videos on YouTube like, oh yeah, I have contact with aliens frequently, and I was like, what am I doing here? And then he said, I have this special ability to move things with my mind. I was sitting there and I tried to drink the tea real fast, and he said, I will show you. So he set up this glass with a piece of aluminum foil on a little needle. He said, oh, I'm gonna turn it around now. But of course he's gonna turn it around, because like even the slightest shake in the movement from, let's say, a tram or in the building will cause the little aluminum foil to move. So he was trying to demonstrate this telekinesis, and I in the meantime tried to figure out how to get out of there, and it didn't seem like too harmful, or I was like, okay, just a strange person, let's say. And then when I was already kind of trying to leave, he said, ah, Linda, I have this new hobby, I have to tell you, do you want to know? I said, yeah, sure, tell me. And he said, my new hobby is drawing. I said, wow, that's great. And in front of us there was this table that was closed, but then he could just open it up, and the table was full of notebooks. Okay, and this was, I think, the second time I met this person. First just with the agent for the apartment, and the second time was there when I was there. So just to give you some context. And my God, he opened one of the notebook. It was full of drawings of me. I almost fell from the couch. I was just waiting for the hidden camera to show up, because this was the weirdest moment ever. I was like, okay, doesn't compare to aliens or telekinesis. This is really, really crazy. And the most bizarre thing was that those drawings were based on pictures that I had not have public. I had them private on my Facebook, let's say, I don't know, some old high school albums or something like this. And I knew that from the contracts that this person is an IT guy. So I was like, whoa, this is creepy as hell. And I just thought, it's not just random drawing, it's just very obsessive that it was just not one, it was so many. And also the fact that I didn't make these pictures public, whole different layers of me being very scared at that moment. And it was the hardest we listen, we don't judge situation ever. So I tried to figure out, okay, how do I get out of this situation, because I am probably about to get chopped up into pieces. And while he was showing me all these drawings, I thought about a documentary that I saw, and it was about psychopaths. And there was this psychiatrist who said, when you are dealing with psychopaths, you need to act a bit like with children, because usually it's some kind of deeply rooted trauma in childhood. I have no idea if this is true, and it's not verified information, but in that instance I thought about it. I said, okay, what if I try to do this? So I changed my tone to talk to him as if he was a bit like a child, and to give him praise and validation. And I said, wow, these drawings are amazing, and you really have a great talent, and you should pursue this hobby further. And the crazy thing that happened was that he really switched to this childlike behavior as well, and his tone of voice changed a little bit. He was like, oh, thank you so much, and do you want one drawing? I give it to you. I said, oh, that's so nice, thank you so much. Inside my head I was freaking out, but I just tried to be calm about it, because I still had this idea in my head that I have all my stuff in a cellar of this place where there is no reception, and I have to get out of the apartment alive. So when this was happening, I thought, okay, we have to meet another time, and you have to show me more, but now I really have to go. In the meantime, I quickly texted my friend who lived close by, SOS message and my location, because this was the moment I had to go to the cellar. And so I asked him, how can I pick up my stuff now? I have another appointment, and everything went okay. I was like really nervous in the elevator and everything. And I eventually made it out of there safe and sound. My friend was waiting, and I was running like crazy. And this was such a strange situation for me, because I was really, really freaked out. But at the same time, I feel like it's a tough encounter to judge or to evaluate, because I don't think this person had any bad intentions. So maybe I created all this in my head, or he didn't think that he was doing anything weird. Because sometimes when people are really, really lonely, they create, they just make strange, obsessive things. So I think this was just the case of him, because he never bothered me after, but it was just a strange encounter. And I still had this painting, and or drawing, and I sent it to my mom, and she said it was the creepiest thing she has ever seen in her life. So yeah, the drawing had, it was kind of bizarre. It was kind of normal, but my eyes were really emphasized. It was just like my eyes were like popping out of the popping out of the drawing. They were like shaded really 3D, and then the rest was kind of 2D. So I think this person was really focused on my eyes. Anyways, let's get to another story. This one is from Brussels. It's connected to my oxymoron project, and this was for a thing when let's say the oxymoron project has a lot of layers, and this was the point when it didn't become only a project about the sexual underworld or what people do behind closed doors. It started to get really social and almost political layer too, because I was getting in touch with people higher and higher in society, and I was beginning to tap into something quite dangerous. And because I figure out that the higher the people were in society, and the more they had to pretend or put on this mask, the more perverse they were in reality. And I was getting really intrigued by this fact, but this event made me eventually stop my project for half a year, because throughout this process I kept sending my locations to my friends, and they were really worried. And I said, okay, maybe this at this point I'm fine with letting it go. So what happened? I was in Brussels, and I was supposed to meet this person. I arrived to the bus station, and because I was dealing with a first meetup and see what are the dynamics, I didn't want to wear anything provocative. I just wanted to be very neutral. And actually didn't wear any makeup. I wore very baggy clothes, so I arrived there like a hip hopper. And then he arrived in a like really posh car in a suit, so it was kind of funny. And I I thought, okay, let's do this. And I knew why I wore this stuff, because I just wanted to see how he really is. And he said, I'm gonna take you to a chocolate factory. We're gonna drink hot chocolate and it's gonna be super nice. And I said, okay, why not? And he was the type of person who knew exactly what to say, and I saw through it, because I felt he was communicating with me as if he is at work. So I didn't really see his authentic self, because he kept saying these very polished narratives about himself. And so then I asked, okay, I was like, okay, let's break this down. And I asked him about his kinks, or what is he then doing in the sex underworld or whatever, because he portrayed himself as a person who organizes these sex parties for very rich people who go there and do crazy stuff. And at some point I was interested to go and photograph, and then we had a conversation that he would organize a party where everybody would wear masks so that I can photograph. And of course it would be crazy with all these NDAs and stuff like that, so I wanted to meet this person in public, in person first, before I enter into spaces like this. And when we were having this hot chocolate, which was delicious by the way, he started telling me about his kinks, and it all became very, very problematic for me. He was explaining some kinks that he likes or he engages in that are for me too far, and I don't want to engage with them, let's say. And he explained them as himself being the savior and in the position of taking care, and I thought, okay, this is crap, absolute crap, and it was a red flag for me. And what happened, that when I was sitting there, I got this insane cramp into my stomach, and I was like, what the hell is this? I'm just drinking hot chocolate, what is this? And it was my gut feeling literally screaming, get the hell out of here. Really, it was such a strong reaction. I don't think I ever had such a strong gut reaction to a person like there. And usually when people are really like this sweet talker, manipulative, I try to be really far away. And so I already tried to say like, okay, I have to go, and because this chocolate factory was really like outside of the center, I needed a ride back, but I was like, is this a good idea or not? But I said, yeah, of course, I take you. And because I don't know Brussels that much, I just put in my GPS the location of center, because I didn't trust him. So when he started driving, he started driving the opposite direction of where I was supposed to go. And so I was just looking where he was going, but he just kept going the wrong direction. And then I looked at my GPS and I was like, okay, let's call him out. So I told him like, why are we going there? So I tried to act as if I know where we should be going. And he got really derailed by that. And he said, oh, don't worry, it's just like a reconstruction here. So he turned around the car and eventually drove me where I was supposed to be and to go. And when I left, I had this very, very weird feeling about this meeting, and I felt my body was really tense. And I was so happy that I got out of this situation, because I think it was a dangerous person. He then messaged me the same day or the same night saying me, sending me an address saying, oh, you have to come here tonight. I organized something especially for you. It's a one-time opportunity and you don't want to miss it. I even told him that I didn't have a camera with me on this trip, so I didn't plan to shoot. And I really didn't like how he put it, as if I owe him something or that I have to go and shoot like on this, like this. No. So I just disappeared for a moment from this project, because I think this could have been a bad situation, and it just made me realize how fast you can really get into such a bad I don't know, moment, or really to get in danger. So this was it when I was like, okay, I'm out. And when I took this more than half a year break from the project, even more, I don't know. I traveled to Buenos Aires this summer to do a residency, and it was mad how this project came back to me there like a boomerang. And I always go to residencies without a specific idea of what I want to do, or what project I'm gonna work on, but Oxymoron just came back so much that I just couldn't ignore it. I just had to go for it again. And one of the encounters that really was like a slap in the face was on my very second day of my trip. I was still really trying to figure out the city. It was a completely different place, different continent, different language, different culture, whatever. And so I tried to like explore the city and go to events, and I still had a crazy jet lag. But I was invited to one art event, and I didn't know that in Argentina everybody eats super late, so like dinner at 11, and to the party everybody goes at like 2 a.m. Before that, you're a loser if you arrive. So of course I arrived super early. I arrived around, I think, 1, and there was nobody on the party. So I waited till 2, and then I just check out the place. But then I was getting really tired and super jet lagged, so I decided to call it a day and order an Uber. And I didn't pay much attention to it, so I just ordered it. It was supposed to be an 8 minutes ride, and I sat in the car, and the driver was very chatty, and I arrived to Argentina with like 10 Spanish classes online, so I would call my Spanish really basic survival level. And I tried to communicate in Spanish, and it was all chill. And when we arrived to the place where I was staying, I always had to pay in cash in Argentina because my cards were not working. So when we arrived, he marked the trip as finished. I was grabbing my wallet to pay, and he locked the door and started driving away with me. My heart dropped literally down my pants. This is like the nightmare that everybody was telling me about. Linda, be careful. There were some cases of kidnappings, especially when I was in Mexico. Actually, people told me about this. But somehow when I was in Argentina, I didn't think about it. Also, in Mexico, I got trained that every single trip I shared with somebody, because the driver gets notified that you are sharing the trip with somebody, which is important for safety reasons. And of course, I forgot to do this time, and my mind was spiraling like crazy. Like, what are you gonna do right now? So I asked him, so where are we going? And he responded, I have some questions to ask you. I was like, okay, if it's just question, that's fine. And And I was just thinking like, okay, how do I get out of the situation? I cannot scream because nobody can hear me. I cannot text anybody. It's 2 in the morning. I just have to figure out the situation right there. I was like, do I have any weapons? I don't have any weapons. I only have my keys. Can I kill somebody with my keys? I'm not sure. So, all these crazy thoughts in your head, your whole life is flashing in front of you. Then you're trying to deal with the situation. But I said, you know what, just ask me the questions, whatever you want, and let's see how to move from there. And he pulled out all these very vulgar, erotic questions. And you know what? I answered everything very honestly to him. I was like, I have nothing to lose at this moment, so let me just be honest. And he kept putting on the heater in the car up so that I would start taking my clothes. And there was also the moments when I was like, Linda, you had a nice life, but it's gonna be over tonight. And he just kept driving. And then he asked me, not the last question, I made it the last question. And I couldn't understand it because everything was in Spanish and it was like these weird slang questions. So the last one, I said, hey, can you put it into a translator because I don't get it. And the question said, physically, what is your weapon of seduction? And in that moment, I started laughing because after asking me all this explicit, very sexual stuff, he comes up with this poetic question out of the blue. And I came up with the craziest thing ever. I took my phone out and I took a picture of his screen, and I saw that he pulled out and he got scared about what I did. So I thought, okay, this guy is not a violent person. He's just a pervert. So he's just trying how far he can push it. And then I felt, okay, maybe I have the ball in my court now. So when I answered him the question, and then I looked at him and I said, and what about you? What is your answer to all these questions? And you wouldn't believe what happened. He completely froze. He started sweating. His hands were shaking. I'm looking at him like, dude, what happened? And he said, no, I cannot answer your question. I'm like, no, these are your own questions. So I thought about this reversal to put him in the position he put me in. And of course, he felt very uncomfortable. And by this moment, he immediately turned the car. He drove me back. He apologized and I'm so sorry that I put you through this situation and then I made you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to pay for this ride, and I hope you have an amazing time in Buenos Aires. I came home. I couldn't sleep the whole night. Was freaking out. But it changed the whole trip for me, this experience. I grew a pair of balls for sure because I was like, if this happened to me on the second day, nothing else can happen to me for the rest of the trip. So I just went full into this oxymoron project there. I even tattooed it on my arm. so mad. But I was really scared, and I'm happy that I'm still here with you guys. And this is kind of the end of this episode, because what are the takeaways from all these stories? Maybe one day you will be in a crappy situations, and maybe you will think of me, and maybe my advice is gonna save you, or my advice is gonna kill you. There's no in between. But I think the one takeaway from all these experiences, at least that I took away from this, is that when these people try to put you in discomfort, they only expect two reactions from you. First, they expect fear, or they expect anger. So when you show them a different reaction, you win yourself some time, because they're confused and you did something they didn't expect. And in most cases, to win time is enough for you to figure out a solution how to escape. So that is my first advice. My second advice is never distrust your gut feeling. If you're in a situation when you have a stomach ache, when you feel, you don't know why, but you for a certain reason feel uncomfortable, leave that situation. Don't push it, otherwise you're gonna regret it. This is something that I learned, that I never cross this. If I cannot explain, even if I cannot really explain why I'm feeling like this, I never go against my gut feeling. And to be honest with you, I think my gut feeling has never been wrong so far. So trust your intuition. And what else? Yeah, I think that's it actually. I wrote these few points, and I just hope that you don't get into these situations. I hope you are gonna be safe, and try to stay calm in situations where you really want to freak out, because we have very strong survival instincts, and unless somebody is already like opening that plastic bag and chopping off your leg, then you're good. Otherwise you just have to accept your fate and it's game over. Anyways, stay safe and still pursue all your adventures.